This is Story Recap. Today I'm going to explain an action, crime, and sci-fi film called District B13. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Due to rampant crimes, the government constructed a wall around District B13 where armed gangs rule the streets while others live in poverty. A notorious gang member, K2, approaches the guards of an apartment and asks for their boss. The guards claim that he isn't there, so K2 insists on leaving his number for their boss to call him since he has something that belongs to them. Meanwhile, their boss, Leito, unzips a package with bags of dope in his apartment. After writing his number on a guard's hand, K2 casually puts his arm around him and snaps his neck. He then kicks the other guard down, knocking him out. With them down, K2 and his gang infiltrate the building. Meanwhile, Leito flushes the bag's contents down the drain. However, he hears commotion outside, so he hurries and tries to escape, but one of K2's men fires at him, making him retreat. K2 scolds the man since they need Leito alive. As they prepare to barge inside, Leito kicks the door off and climbs his way over the men. Using his parkour skills, Leito slips into a neighbor's house and jumps from their balcony to land on the lower floor. More men find him there, so Leito jumps off the window holding onto a rope so his pursuer falls off the building. He returns inside and makes his way to the roof. Like a daredevil, Leito hops over from one building to another, then slips into a hatch to return inside. Despite the gang members desperately trying to catch him, Leito sleeps off their grasps and jumps off another balcony. He leaps into a separate building, and this time the men can't follow him. Later, K2 and his men face their boss Taha, who's pissed that they couldn't recover their product that Leito stole. K2 reasons that Taha wanted Leito alive, so they were forced not to use guns. Taha thinks he's blaming him, so K2 regrets his words. Angry, Taha starts shooting them until K2 suggests taking Leito's sister to make him pay. Soon, K2 heads to a supermarket where Leito's sister Lola works. Despite having a gun to her face, Lola defiantly refuses to go with him, so K2 drags her out. They take Lola into Taha's warehouse where the men ogle at her. As the members try to touch her, Lola threatens them, even throwing a punch. When the man she punched tries to retaliate, K2 stops him as Taha wants her unharmed. Before K2 arrives with Lola, Leito crashes into Taha's office and holds the boss down with a knife. Soon, K2 drags Lola into the office and aims a gun at her head upon seeing Leito there. In exchange for his life, Leito orders Taha to remove his business near his apartment and to allow him and Lola to walk out safely. With that, Taha orders K2 to release Lola, allowing her to take his gun. Afterward, the siblings hold Taha at gunpoint as they make their way out, forcing him to order his men to stand down. With dozens of guns to their heads, the siblings leave and take K2's car, bringing Taha with them. As Lola drives away, the men finally open fire while others get into their cars to chase them. However, the siblings reach the police checkpoint at district exit where they surrender Taha. The police chief asserts that the checkpoint is closing under the government's orders, therefore they cannot arrest Taha without evidence. As proof, Leito presents a suitcase with 5 kilos of dope that he took from Taha's desk. With this, the chief has the siblings surrender their weapons. To their surprise, however, he aims the guns at them and forces Leito into the cell. Leito yells that letting Taha go will make things worse, but the chief doesn't care since they'll be long gone when it does. He releases Taha, but the gang leader also demands to have Lola. Leito screams as the police allow Taha to knock out his sister and take her away. After he leaves, the chief excuses that he's retiring so he won't risk his life for Lola. Angry, Leito forces the chief's head between the bars and leaps over to break his neck. 6 months later, outside the isolated district, Carlos scolds his driver for driving his expensive car recklessly, but his assistant Benito assures him that it won't happen again. They then enter a convenience store where a secret door leads them to an underground casino that Carlos runs. They head to the security room where one employee, Sammy, reveals that a raid team is preparing at a nearby alley. Given that most of their regular players aren't there, Sammy thinks they tipped off the police in exchange for some money they'll confiscate today. Convinced that there's a mole amongst them, Carlos shoots his driver and orders his men to move the money. However, Benito holds him at gunpoint, revealing himself as an undercover cop named Damien. He arrests Carlos while ordering his men to leave the room, locking himself and the boss inside. With them alone, Damien gives his team the signal so they lower a carrier from the rooftop, which descends into the security room's vent. Damien then knocks Carlos out and allows his team to hoist him up. Suspicious of what's happening, Sammy and the others start firing at the heavy door. Damien shoots back but soon runs out of bullets, so he asks his team for extra ammunition, knowing that he doesn't have time to escape. Finally, the men open the door, but Damien surprises them from behind. He fights the men, and when his extra ammo is dropped into the hatch, he hurries to reload his gun and shoot the rest. He escapes but finds more men shooting at him, so he uses his remaining bullets to kill them. Out of ammo, Damien expertly faces 3 men in combat, though he's forced to hide hide when more opponents with guns arrive. One by one, he fights them until he captures one and uses his gun to shoot his comrades before snapping his neck. More men block his way to the exit, so he tosses one down the stairs, then wrestles another to drop down onto a table below them. Exhausted, Damien finally exits the casino, sarcastically complimenting his team's excellent timing. As he's leaving, the van holding Carlos pulls up behind him, where the gang boss accuses him of betrayal. Damien points out that he treated him like a servant, so he takes revenge by shooting down Carlos's beloved car. The following day, Damien is summoned by the colonel, who commends him for his successful operation. He introduces him to the Secretary of State for Defense, Kruger, who shares that an armored vehicle transporting an experimental bomb was hijacked. The vehicle has a tracker allowing them to locate it in Taha's warehouse. The bomb has a timing mechanism set for 24 hours, which was accidentally triggered an hour ago. Damien doesn't think the retrieval is possible, but Colonel asserts that 2 million people will be killed if the bomb isn't deactivated. Since Damien isn't familiar with B-13, Kruger offers him a local guide, though he'd need to convince him to help first. Hours later, Leito is taken to be transferred, and Damien, who's undercover as another prisoner, joins him in the vehicle. As soon as the van drives off, Damien reveals a pin which he uses to uncuff himself. While unlocking the back door, he shares that Taha murdered his father and brothers, so he's heading to B-13 to kill him. He adds that Taha is in his fortress where he keeps Lola drugged up. After unlocking the back door, Damien slips over the roof and throws the guards off vehicle to take the wheel. During this, Leito uncuffs himself using Damien's pin and joins him in the front seat. As they are nearing B-13, Leito suddenly cuffs Damien to the steering wheel and takes a gun from the glove compartment. He instructs him to speed into B-13, so they speed past the checkpoint but damage the van in the process, causing them to crash onto a parked car inside the district. Leito leaves him in the van, revealing that he'd known Damien was a cop. Alone, Damien desperately tries to uncuff himself, but the owner of the wrecked car confronts him, so he kicks the door open, knocking him out. Another man slams a metal pipe against him, but it gets stuck on the steering wheel, allowing Damien to break it and kick the man on the chin. Using the steering wheel, he fights off other gang members and captures the leader, forcing his men to stand down. Finally, Damien uncuffs himself, tells the man to take his police van as a replacement for his car before running off. At Taha's office, K2 reports that Leito has escaped prison. Unknown to them, Leito is already in the next building, scouting the area. Suddenly, Damien cuffs him to a pipe, asking how he knew he was a cop. Leito points out that his fighting skills were too clean, therefore he was trained. Damien sarcastically apologizes for not fighting with hate since he was taught to respect the laws, but Leito asserts that the laws don't really apply similarly to everyone. Leito recounts how their district was already awful back then, but the walls were still built, trapping everyone there. He asks why he deserved such punishment when the only thing he did wrong was being born there. Hearing this, Damien decides to trust Leito and reveals that Taha has a bomb that will destroy their district if it's not defused in 2 hours. Since Taha has the bomb and Leito's sister, they must work together. Damien plans to sneak in undetected, but Leito borrows his phone, which he uses to call Taha. To Damien's surprise, Leito tells Taha their location and that he's with a cop. Damien scolds him for giving everything away, but Leito defends that the only way to get close to Taha is to pique his curiosity. As Leito expects, Taha wonders about cop that Leito mentioned, so he orders his men to bring them both alive. However, Damien thinks this is too risky, so Leito reveals that he knows all the exits in Taha's building, including where he'd keep the bomb. Seeing that K2 and his men are heading their way, Damien releases Leito and goes along with his plan. At the same time, Taha checks on one of his men nicknamed as Yeti. Soon, Leito and Damien are escorted into Taha's warehouse, where they find a vehicle used to transport the bomb. They arrive at Taha's office, and Leito immediately explains that Damien must defuse the bomb to prevent it from wiping out B-13. Amused, Taha asks Damien how much he will pay for it. Damien asserts that everyone will die, but Taha threatens to send the bomb into Paris, so it detonates there instead. Using a telescope overlooking the next building, Damien finds the bomb strapped to a launcher to send it outside the district. Leito sees that his sister is also there, unconscious. With that, Taha orders Damien to transfer 20 million euros to him in exchange for the bomb. While Damien calls Kruger, Lola wakes up, finds herself chained. She tries to topple the launcher, but it's too heavy for her to move. Damien gives Kruger Taha's bank account to pay him, but Kruger claims that they can't spare the money, so he has to figure another way out. Thinking quickly, Damien lies that the money has been transferred. However, Taha wants to confirm the transfer first, and with their bank opening in 30 minutes, he asks Damien and Leito to wait until then. The two are escorted out of the office, where K2 orders Yo-Yo to watch over them. Quietly, the two discuss their next move. Learning that Kruger didn't actually make the transfer, Leito tells Damien that at least he knows how much his life is worth to them. With 37 minutes before detonation, Leito comes up with a plan and instructs Damien to get them to meet with Taha again. Damien tells Yo-Yo that he needs to speak to Taha about the money, so he escorts them back to the office along with a few men. In the hallway to the elevator, however, the two suddenly leap over the men to steal their guns and start shooting the rest. As their opponents duck for cover, the two head into the nearby bathroom, where Leito crashes onto a toilet, revealing a tunnel underneath it. Taha learns that the two escaped and shoots Yo-Yo for failing him. He also learns that the transfer was not only a bluff but a way for the government to clean out his money from his bank accounts. Seeing that their boss is broke, the men start questioning their allegiance. Taha assures them that he has cash in his safe, but they're not convinced, so they rain bullets on him. The men then turn to K2, who instructs them to find Leito and Damien. Leito and Damien exit the building through the sewers but are immediately pursued by armed men in cars. As one car speeds towards them, a truck blocks their way, so the two leap against the truck, causing the car to crash into it. With more cars on their tail, the men split up. Leito climbs up a wall to force his pursuers out of their cars. He then runs into an apartment building and jumps from one balcony to another, while Damien hijacks a civilian's car to escape his pursuers. Eventually, the two meet up, but they're immediately held at gunpoint. K2 catches up to them, only to ask them to defuse the bomb and save their district. Damien and Leito soon reach the building, only to be blocked by Taha's muscle, Yeti. Confidently, Damien kicks Yeti, but this doesn't even move him. He throws concrete blocks at him, but Yeti easily punches them off and throws the cop down. While Damien deals with Yeti, Leito lassos a cable around Yeti's arm. He continues moving around Yeti as he dodges his attacks, eventually succeeding in tying him up. For good measure, Damien slams a concrete block on the man's head, knocking him out. They finally reach the rooftop, and while Leito comforts his sister, Damien calls Kruger before telling him the code. Kruger asks his exact location, seemingly pleased when the cop does. As Damien repeats the code, Leito realizes something and stops him from entering it. Leito points out that the code has their locations. Damien thinks it's a coincidence, but Leito thinks the code is for detonating the bomb instead of defusing it. With 2 minutes left on the countdown, the two get into a fight. Damien manages to knock Leito down, then hurries to enter the code, but Leito catches up to him before he can enter the final number. The comrades continue their heated battle as Leito reminds Damien that no one cares about their district. That's why they built the wall. He believes that the bomb is meant to clean out B13 for good, hence why the officers stationed there were removed. He points out that the van transporting the bomb had no signs of getting attacked, so Kruger probably planted it to ensure that the bomb was at the center of B13 and sent their most loyal officer to detonate it without question. Still, Damien punches him and tries to return to the bomb, so Leito pulls him back. With less than a minute left, the two continue their chase until Damien knocks Leito down again. With his finger inches away from the last number, Lola pins the officer down. Choosing to trust her brother, Lola holds him until the countdown reaches 0 and the bomb turns off. Seeing this shatters Damien's beliefs, realizing that the government did intend to wipe out B13 and its residents. An hour later, Damien and Leito bring the bomb to Kruger, claiming that they forgot the last part of the code. They start punching in the numbers, noting that it includes the zone numbers in B13 and the current date. Damien then pretends to remember the last digit, so he offers to enter them. Kruger accuses him of trying to wipe out Paris, but Damien wonders why, since the code is meant to defuse the bomb. This forces the Secretary of State to admit that they were trying to eliminate B13 since it costs money maintaining it while the taxpayers fear it. Hearing this, Damien punches in the last digit, scaring Kruger and the Colonel, only to reveal that the bomb was already defused. With that, Damien reveals a cameraman filming them and reminds Kruger that his job is ensuring that everyone follows the same laws. Immediately, the news plays the footage outing Kruger to the nation. Weeks later, Damien takes Leito and Lola back to their entrance to B13, though he wonders why they'll stay there when their reward for exposing Kruger could get them a place in Paris. Leito asserts that B13 is their home. The walls will be demolished in a week, therefore B13 will become a proper district again. Yet Leito worries that everything will still turn for the worse. Damien reminds him that the people voted for B13 to be freed, thus they've accepted the district. However, if things go south, Damien promises to continue upholding the law. With this in mind, the siblings return home and the officer watches them with a smile.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.